Welcome to the Tip Channel. That is perfection. Hello and welcome back to the Tip Channel. Today we're going to take a look at putting an awning above a French door. Now I'm going to shoot a lot of this inside because it's kind of windy outside today, and I don't know about you guys, I absolutely hate watching videos with a lot of wind. Anyways, we've purchased this unit off of Amazon, and this unit basically has 3 support bars. So what you're looking at is that there are no left or rights or center. They're all basically identical. Doesn't really matter which support bar goes where. Now, for the rear of the unit against the house, there's this metal piece which will span between these 2 pieces. And that will accept the plexiglass into this. Now, there's no stripping up against the house, so it will require some caulking where it goes right against the house. There's also, on the front of this unit, what I will refer to as a gutter. So as the water runs down here, the gutter grabs it and makes it go left and right of the unit instead of dumping it right at the end of the awning. There also will be some stainless steel screws, and that will be used to attach the gutter at the end. Naturally, that keeps it from spreading out at the end of the unit. There will be a rubber gasket that goes around the plexiglass. That keeps it watertight. Now, to anchor the unit to the house, what they give you is a toggle bolt. Now, the dimension of this toggle bolt is about 3/8 of an inch. So, if you're doing this in masonry, like a brick, things like that, I would say the hammer drill bit that you would want would probably be a metric equivalent. 3/8 is right around 9.5 on the metric system, so probably a 10mm drill bit would be ideal for this. What we used actually to drill the hole in this piece of substrate is that we used a 13/32 drill bit. Now, what this toggle bolt does is that you drill the hole, you insert the toggle bolt into here, and then as you tighten it up, it expands on the rear side. So, if your home is a newer construction, you may find that you have 7/16 OSB on the exterior of your home. So will that hold in the OSB? You'll probably be okay as long as you don't get a lot of heavy snow loads. If your home is like mine, and we're going back like 30, 35 years ago, we have plywood on the corner, and then we used a blue styrofoam everywhere else. If this goes through the vinyl siding and into styrofoam, is it going to hold? No. So what I'm going to show you is a way to stiffen up. So even if you're afraid of the 7/16 OSB, or in fact you do have the blue styrofoam, this is a way to mount this canopy and not have an issue. So what we're going to do first of all is I want to take and dry fit this. Now, anything coming from overseas is pretty generic in regards to instructions, so I want to make sure that what I'm doing above my door is going to work accordingly with the unit that we've purchased. So we'll go ahead and put this, dry fit this thing together. Now I have this laid out, and we're actually upside down, and we have it dry fitted so we can see how it all goes together. Can we shoot this upside down? What? I would be upside down? Can't you cut me out and turn me upside down? No. Okay. Anyways, this is upside down. So what we have, as I mentioned, we have the 3 support bars. We have the 2 pieces of metal that go against the house, and we have the 2 gutter pieces on the front of this unit. Now, what we're looking at is this unit is called 80 inches wide, but this is one of the reasons I wanted to dry fit. Again, things coming from overseas aren't exactly perfect in regards to instructions. This measures 81 1/4 inches wide. Now, my home, between the French door and the window above it, has a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, which I covered with a piece of aluminum. I cannot remember whether it is a solid header above that or just studs. It's a non-load bearing wall, so I'm thinking it's probably just studs. So my door only measures 72 1/4 inches wide, so I want to make this flat all the way across where this goes against the wall. Now I thought about cutting this down and cutting the plexiglass, and I'm like, you know what, no. We're going to go ahead, leave everything exactly the same way that it is. I want it to be strong. I don't want this thing to come loose. So what I'm going to do is cut out the additional vinyl siding that I need for the width. We'll fill that in with, again, 3/4 inch thick plywood, so it doesn't matter where I screw. Now to make the cut in the vinyl siding, I'm using one of my favorite tools. Ever since I got this multi-tool in my hand, I use it for just about everything. But anyways, it's nice and gentle. It's not going to jump all over the place. It's going to be very easy for me to maneuver and make this cut out of my vinyl. Then I'll take and put J-channel back in around that unit, and I'll show you what I'm going to have to do with my J-channel. This siding's been discontinued for a long time. There might have been an F channel available, but anyways, we'll make a piece of F channel so that we can put our siding back into place. Then we'll put our 3/4 inch piece in, covered in aluminum. We'll be ready to pop this sucker right on. So we made our notches in our siding to accommodate for the width of the awning unit that we're going to put up. So how do we deal with the J-channel? Well, I have a piece of the original J-channel from my siding. What's that? Yeah, from 30 years ago. That's why hoarders are a hoarder, because someday you're going to need this. Well, someday just came. Anyways, how do we do the J-channel? Because when we slip that J-channel in, how are we going to nail it? Are we going to pull back, try to hide a little finishing nail inside of it? How can we do that and make it inconspicuous? Well, stick around and we're going to show you that. Now here I've taken some coil stock and I've cut it to 4.5 inches in width. Now, with the 1.5 inches on the J-channel, that allows me 3 inches over in order to nail. And I know that I've got to go over a few inches before I hit some studs, so I know that's going to take me over far enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my J-channel and I'm going to pop rivet this to my J. Okay, so this gives me all this nailing area over here so I can come down in the studs and nail right in. Now for my pop rivets, I'm going to go from the underside through. Be careful you don't hit the holes in the J-channel. Now that little bit of nub that's left from the pop rivet will slide right underneath of the siding, so it won't be an issue. With our J-channel back into place, now what we want to do is to fill in the 3/4 inch plywood. Now, if in your case this is brand new installation, what you want to do is to make your plywood about 1/4 inch short on the top and bottom, and also on the left and right, so that we have room for our returns on our aluminum. Now our face dimension right now from J-channel to J-channel measures 83 1/4, but I want to bend my aluminum about 1/8 of an inch shy on each side, so 83 inches. Now my plywood's 3/4 of an inch thick, and I want to do a return on each side to protect the plywood. And also that will strengthen the aluminum, make it look a lot nicer. So we're 83 1/4 on the face, minus 1/8 of an inch at each side, 83, plus 5/8 on each side for our return, gives us 84 1/4 for our face dimension. Now height-wise, we are 14.5 minus 1/4 plus 5/8 twice. So our cut dimension on our aluminum will be 15.5. So our first one for length, I'll be doing it here on the table. Now, you can do it with a pair of tin snips if you choose. I always end up with something that looks like this when I cut it with tin snips. So I like a much sharper edge, so I'll be using a framing square and a razor knife, board knife, whatever, box cutter, whatever name you want to put on it. You know, square up the square, get it on your mark. And you want to score this 2 or 3 times. Now, sharp blade is a must. It needs to be sharp. Score it 2 or 3 times. Bend it a couple times and it snaps right off. And you have a nice clean square edge to work with. So our next thing is naturally the dimension in regards to height, and we're looking for 15.5 inches. So that we will do in our break. So I'll put a mark at 15.5. So we have our mark at 15.5 inches. We have it into the brake. Now my throat on my brake is not deep enough for the 15.5 inches. So we got the opposite end of the coil inside of the brake. And it's fine. We can cut that part off and then we'll start manipulating the piece that we have out here. So first thing, lock the brake down. Again, sharp utility knife, and we're going to score it. Now, as you score it, don't run off the end onto your brake. You don't want to be scoring up your brake. Just stop short and come back. After you've scored it a couple times, use your brake. Put it back and forth a few times, it'll snap right off. Okay, now we have our piece that we're actually after. With the aluminum cut off, what I did was make a mark 5/8 of an inch from the edge of the aluminum on each side, and I've got to back into the brake and clamp back down. Now, don't put the mark on the other side yet. These bends will take up just a hair, so if you want to be really precise, wait till after you make the first bend before you measure your second mark. So we've got to clamp down, and what we want is a 90-degree bend. So 90 degrees, take your handles. Your handles ought to be pointing straight up whenever you make your bend. Now, if you massage it a little bit, get it to where it's just perfect. All right, so now what we want to do is do the other side. So we have our two long ends bent now. And I know you're thinking, well, Dawn, how are you going to do the sides? How are you going to get that back into the brake? Well, I'm sure there's probably somebody out there that knows how to get it back into the brake. If they do, pop it into the comment section. Anyways, in order to do our ends, what I'm going to use is what is referred to as a hand brake. Now, you can use a hand brake. You can also use this tool to create the end. I prefer the hand brake. So first thing that I will do is to put marks at 5/8 of an inch. So that's my return. My plywood's 3/4. I'm looking for 5/8. I'll need to snip the corners of this so that I can make the bend. So I've snipped my corners and now I'm ready to make my bend. This brake has a 3/8 side and it has a 1-inch side. So we're going to use the 1-inch side. I'm going to slip it on. You can see that it's not quite long enough to go all the way. So what I'm going to do is I will start my bend at this end. I'll shift down. Continue my bend. Shift back. Shift forth. Back again, and there we have our end bend. So now we're ready to go out and dry fit this and see if it actually fits. All right, so here we are back outside. We're ready to do the dry fit on the aluminum. Like a glove. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is shoot some silicone on here to hold it into place. Go ahead and caulk the edges. A wise man once told me, you know, Dawn, if I start a project today and I don't feel like finishing, I'll finish it tomorrow. If tomorrow comes and I don't feel like doing it, I'll finish it next week. Wise man out there. Anyways, we'll put this piece into place and we'll do the mounting tomorrow. But you'll get to watch it all in one day. Don't get excited. With our support piece all finished and covered in aluminum and caulked in, we're now ready to actually mount our awning unit. Now, I have the unit again set upside down and I have the top rails into place. So now we need to know the location of these bolts. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to put my centerpiece in the center of my door. So off of the centerpiece, from center line of bolt to center line of bolt, with this unit is 39.5 inches. From the bottom of the unit up, it's a strong 5/8. That doesn't really matter. What does matter is that from center of line to center of line for the bolts is 5 3/4 inches. So What I've done is I'm using a framing square. I'm going 2 inches up on my door, so I know I'm into some solid meat. And I'm going to put a mark at 2 inches, and then I'm 5 3/4 up, so my next mark is 7 3/4. Now, my awning unit, I would like to be tilted about 1 inch from right to left, just so that all my drainage goes to the left-hand side. So for my right-hand support, I'm going to raise that 1/2 inch above. And my left-hand unit, I'm going to drop it 1/2 inch. For the toggle bolts, I start out with a punch. Now you can use a nail set, what have you, but a drill bit will have a tendency to wander off, and I don't want that. So I've got my marks, hit it with a nail set, then I take a 3/16 drill bit and drill my hole first. Again, that's sort of guiding the bigger drill bit back into place. Switching out to either the 10mm or the 13/32, we go ahead and drill the larger hole. Our toggle bolt and insert it back into the hole. And we're ready to start tightening up the toggle bolt. Now, it may require a little bit of persuasion, and the first rule of carpentry is that just about anything can be fixed with a hammer. And sometimes you can't fix it with a hammer, you just need a bigger hammer. Almost anything can be used as a hammer, and the most important, don't use your hand as a hammer. As you get to my age, you're going to understand exactly what I mean. Getting back to the installation of this. After we get our center ones, we go ahead 39.5 inches over, drill those and put the toggle bolts into them as well. Now I did find with the toggle bolts that as you start to spin the nut, the whole thing starts to spin. So what I did was I pulled it out just enough to where I could get my channel locks on the shaft piece, hold it still and spin the nut. If I do another one of these, I probably would invest into some stainless steel 3/8 inch lag bolts and not have the hasslement of these. But they did work. So now that the toggle bolts are into place, what we want to actually do is we want to remove the bolt out of the cartridge so that we're ready to actually install our support pieces. Now, in preparation of our unit, the first thing that we need to do is run the rubber gasket around the plexiglass. And we start out that with a 45-degree angle on our rubber, come down to the next corner, snip it, don't cut all the way through, cut 2 45-degree angles, wrap the corner, and continue around the plexiglass, ending with a 45-degree angle cut. The next thing that we need to do is we need to slip the back rail support onto the plexiglass and then also our gutter. Now keeping in mind I'm working this upside down, so our gutter opening needs to be pointing down. So slip the gutter into place. Next we take our right hand support and we slide it onto the plexiglass and the front gutter and rear rail. Then there's a 1 inch long stainless steel screw. Look down inside of the hole, you'll see the location it needs to go into, screw those into place. For the actual install, take your center support, put it into place and go ahead and tighten up your bolts on it. Then take your right hand unit, which we prefabbed here in the shop, and slide it into the center section and put the bolts into it. Next step, take 2 of those 1 inch long stainless steel screws and screw it into the end of the right hand unit. Next up, take your left hand unit, slide it into place and tighten your bolts up. After you get those done, there's little plastic caps that slip over top of your bolts. Put those into place. And then you need to put 4 stainless steel short screws out next to the front. 2 in the center gutter support, and then 2 on the right and left hand side of the gutter support. Now those are self-tapping. Myself, I prefer to pre-drill. Stainless steel screws do have a tendency of snapping off fairly easy. So anyways, the last step of the project is we take and run a bead of caulking along the top of it. Now you may want to take just a minute and take a dab of silicone and put it where the 2 gutters come together at in the center. My reasoning for doing that is that I'm thinking that we may get a small drip in the center, and in the wintertime that could create a nice spot on the sidewalk. So a little bit of preventative measure could really help someone not getting hurt in the future. So What would I rate the quality of the product? I'd give it a 9. If it would have came with the stainless steel lag bolts, would have been a 10. And what about the installation? Again, a 9. Lag bolts would have been 10. How'd the overall project turn out? It's the tip channel. That is perfection. I want to take a minute to thank you much for watching. And do me a favor and take a minute for me, like and subscribe. It really does help our channel. Thank you so much and have a great day.